One of the things that I'm pretty sure zero people miss, no matter how much nostalgia they might have for the classic base set Pokemon days, is that you can miss. Back then, you throw a ball at something that's a bit too strong for you, they can straight refuse to be trapped in something that you can buy for £2 at a corner shop. And you're lying to yourself if you don't think that's definitely how it go down. I'm not saying you'll never catch a Celebi because your mum drove you to Toys R Us 20 years late. I'm saying you would never catch a Celebi because you would never come close to landing a Pokeball on something that's gonna warp back in time and stop you from ever getting your trainer's license to begin with. You better watch where you're throwing those things. If you try anything sus with Celebi, watch what happens. He will keep you in the education system. Team Rocket have been going at that Pikachu for 25 years now. Tried everything all the way from machines that would dictate entire wars to rubber gloves. If it's that difficult to catch a heavily monetized rodent, just imagine how impossible the more powerful and gimmicky creatures are gonna be to catch. Imagine one night you go out on the Pokedex prowl to fill in some numbers. You can't be asked to hit the weights on a Duskull all the way to level 37. You crazy? I'm gonna waste time doing that. So you take a late night stroll to catch yourself a Dusclops, and he catches you. I don't know what you expect. Those hands do be looking like a PR nightmare. I'd half expect him to catch the ball and throw it back at you with those goalkeeper gloves, but that's not how he catches you. You take one dodgy look at your target to visualize the shot. 1 second you're staring at a pair of comically large hands, the next you're looking at Giratina. Cause the Pokeball no consume Dusclops. Dusclops consume you. Doesn't even put respect on that soul of yours. He slings your soul into the back end of box 34 of the Shadow Realm. Any ball you even have a chance of throwing, it's just gonna get absorbed. Might want to keep Dusclops blank in the Pokedex. I want to skip this one over. The risk to reward ratio here, a certificate on a risk engulfed. I'm gonna leave this one. As convenient as the black hole is for finessing your whole career, these thirsty hands might just go ahead and hypnotize you into tossing everything in your bag and releasing every Pokemon you own. So this situation is very simple. It can go one or two ways. You can either vor yourself to the Shadow Realm or get hypnotized into softlocking yourself. After these many years glazing my eyes over the Pokedex, when I close my eyes at night, I see Bulbapedia branded onto my retinas. This whole time, there's been a Pokemon that can control your memory. And somehow, I never noticed Behem. I can't even say his name. That's kind of played out, like, why do they let kids venture out into the Pokemon world? And I've always wondered, where do you get the courage to face these creatures? Where do you gain any, like, intelligence or real-world skills past the age of 10? But now, most of all, I'm really curious now. Where do you get the audacity to go anywhere near a creature that can squeeze your brain and reformat your mental hard drive? It is clear to me that you're a 10-year-old dropout if you try to catch this little grey alien who can manipulate your memory to forget all motor skills. You can't even expand the ball. Your man can make you forget what Pokemon even are. You go from the most powerful person in your country to Sid at his toy barbecue in 2 seconds flat. Man can make your own Pokemon forget you even caught them. You're gonna have to recatch them, but you're too busy trying to remember what even is catching. Why do I own a gorilla that plays drums? Why is that box so yoked? And where'd this shirt with a drunk crab on it spawn from? I'm not gonna use legendaries for obvious reasons. Kids in the Pokemon world who are forced into religious schools, they already clocked Arceus ain't real by the time they're like 12 anyway. But I'm gonna make one exception here. You don't need it explained to you as to why the average person would never even get close to the ancestor of every creature that exists. You'd be more likely to run into Jesus reincarnated as your Uber driver. Kind of Pokemon where if you found out it exists, Men in Black show up to your door. Snooping around the Cinnabar lab a bit too much, Giovanni's gonna send James over with his big needle. But let's say you do somehow find Mew. You take your phone out to flex to the gram like, yeah, it's calm, edit. Just met your dog source code. But first off, right? Seeing history's first ever creature, your immediate response is to whack out your phone. It's showing your age a bit, but what shows your age even more, obviously, You man never played Pokemon Snap. Look, I don't care. I don't care how overpriced your iPhone is. I don't want to see your second profile. You can slap photography over your full legal name all you want. It doesn't make you prestige enough to just take a quick snap of Mew. What I'm saying is, you can barely catch a photo of this thing, let alone the tightest Pokeball you own accurately enough to get it. Look, I understand, alright? I know you make up the DNA of all the Earth's livestock and that. It's pretty big deal, but relax, okay? Relax a bit. You get one big movie, like 20 years ago. You two up yourself for a photo. We all know Alakazam, brain so swole by the end of the encounter, you've traded him your £1 million bike for his shiny spoon. Mentally, you are starving for some Cookie Crisp, and Alakazam is in control of the cutlery. So just the idea of you trying to catch a creature so mentally superior to you. Could he use his powers to make a force field? Probably. Could he teleport away from you? If he's taken a trip down to the Move Tutor recently, maybe. Could he use his psychic powers to grind you down into a PSA 1 condition human? Yeah, it probably could. If you were a holographic human, it would skin you alive. Those are too easy though. He bides his time for you to throw your finest ball, and he chucks his spoon at it. You paid way too much for that ball just to catch a basic household item. But you gotta think of the positives here. Now, you're well equipped to stir your poltergeist. Pokeballs, they don't just have this sentient ability to know it's catching a creature. Most of the time, I think they're pretty inconsistent with it. The science behind it, they've not really hashed this out yet. They need to get Professor, whichever one specializes in Pokeballs. Or even get that Kurt guy, the one who hollowed out the fruits. Get him to write a book or something. Get him on the Drogon to explain to us the science behind this mechanism. Some people think they scan for common DNA that every Pokemon has. But then, it goes and catches your right
delicious jelly-filled donut
ball in the show. In theory, this could work for any Pokemon that comes as a package deal with non-sentient items. Conkeldurr, he's probably a little too smooth-brained to pull this off better than Alakazam. He's a little too steaks and eggs and breaking legs machismo, not so much mental machismo that Alakazam has to execute this plan. But you got a cutlery ball now, and don't underestimate the cutlery ball. The cutlery can actually be very useful in the Pokemon world, a lot more useful than you might think at first. Now, can spoon feed you more while without losing more fingers. As satisfying as it looks and sounds to do, Ditto might be a bit tricky to grab, but it has the worst poker face. You'd know when to catch a Ditto, you just gotta look around properly at... Wait a minute. Where'd you get that second eye? Zorua might not be as malleable as the sentient Play-Doh, but it's a much more refined shapeshifter. None of this, Ditto. Who is Ditto? I am Kai Incognito. Zorua can transform into Pokemon, which always helps, but even then, people are still going to try and catch you, unless you transform into like Firo. That's why to blend in, it transforms into a human. Something which Pokeballs, as much as they might be programmed to brand your forehead, they're not programmed to actually catch you. Typically, it transforms into a silent kid. And not so much these days. Pokemon has a lot of crossover fans from Smash. Turning into a human is really the perfect defense against thirsty trainers with a dry Pokedex. You wouldn't ever waste a perfectly fine Pokeball on a person since you know it's not gonna work. You're probably looking to face a mean ABH charge. Might as well chuck a cricket ball at them. But the most important bit here though, how are you gonna out yourself like that, man? How are you gonna do? Excuse me, mate, you been throwing Pokeballs at little girls? Oh, you wouldn't be trying to catch these kids, would ya? People seem to be debating how potentially broken that new Reggie is. Are there any Pokemon out there that are just too quick to be engulfed by the leash that is the Pokeball? Being able to fly, along with the ratio of Ninjask's speed to size, that's going to be almost impossible to land a good pitch of a Pokeball on. But then again, why do I have to play his game? I'm not going to play in his terms, sitting around throwing Pokeballs, catching dust from the air. I can just physically assault the fly until it's incapacitated enough that it has no choice to be engulfed into the bright light of the PC. Thing is, it's not as easy as that. Have you ever seen how dumb a dog looks trying to fight a fly? So imagine how mugged off your mudkeeper's gonna look trying to mudshot a fly that moves fast enough to be invisible. But I guess that just means you resort to physically assaulting with something that can't possibly miss. Like using Psychic to find where it's flying and dunk it into the netball. But even that's not guaranteed to land. I don't know how. Apparently it's fast enough to avoid any attack you throw at it. It is ABH proof. Physical assault proof. The thing with catching Pokemon is that it all comes under chance. And that's a big part of copping yourself free healthcare on the go with Chansey, all the way from its spawn rate to I guess its name. First, you gotta find one. Then, it's making sure you're not clapped enough to scare it off. And then, it's relying on these tin can safari balls. The safari man. He's hustling me. He's selling me 30 for 500. Face value, it's a pretty good deal. But that's not the only thing that's on offer. He's selling me a dream, thinking I'm ever gonna catch a Chansey, one of these 10p tin can balls. Am I supposed to believe this whole time these rank 1 COD camo balls have been on par with great balls? Safari Zone feels like using dusk balls on a beach. It felt like I had more chance catching it with my bare hands and firemen's carrying it back to Pallet Town so Oak can register it to the Pokedex by hand. So you got a low chance of ever running into one, an even lower chance of keeping it around, and then a lower chance from there, since the Safari Zone is this sacred land, the only place in the Pokemon world you legally can't have a scrap in. Luckily, it's gotten a bit easier to get a hold of since the Safari Zone went under, and your man had it coming, charging a $5 for 30 Great Balls, but it's still difficult, even if you wanted to find one outside of the Safari Zone, where you can't be legally prosecuted for sucker punching Chansey in the stomach. You can use whatever ball you want, fight however dirty you want, but the chance of you finding one in areas it shows up in, it's still usually about a 1% chance, unless you're in a specific area in Sinnoh or Alola, where the rate goes up for some reason, where if you happen to be in the neighborhoods, you might get lucky. Chances are you're not going to be in Hawaii. Even Cerulean Cave, they show up a lot more often. You can just go there. It's really easy. Just be world champion and the bouncer will let you in. I don't know what's so hard to understand here. But overall, it's always a low percentage. And even then, they manage to vanish in a second because it thinks you be after its egg. Statistically, you have more of a chance of catching God himself in a hollowed out fruit than you have of ever seeing a Chansey in the wild. Catching Pokemon underwater, it has to be impossible. That's why you have to fish them up first and then throw the ball at them. And I know, I've played the games. I know you dive and hoeing, but anything in the deep sea, then not getting caught. You're gonna need some of that Giovanni funding. Invest in some kind of submarine, maybe paint it up like a Gyarados or something, they're quirky like that. Then attach dive ball cannons. That's probably the only way you can even try. So to me, it makes sense that the hardest underwater Pokemon to catch is whatever's at the lowest point of the ocean. It's Relicanth. Probably Relicanth. Because tell me, how are you going to catch something evolution couldn't even get a hold of? The technology to explore most of the ocean doesn't even exist yet. Unless you got some Zoromask you've been hiding from the rest of us, you wouldn't be getting anywhere near the ocean floor. Your Blastoise might be able to take the pressure of a quick dive 10,000 feet down, but you're gonna come out of that water looking like Stunfisk. I doubt Relicanth would even come up to the surface anytime soon. 100 million years untouched. That thing gets exposed to the open air now, probably just set on fire. But let's say you manage to convince Silphco. They take you up on your idea. They make you some Scuba Steve Iron Man suit made out of dive balls somehow. You might have a ball that's more effective on water types. You might have a ball which functions underwater, but that's not gonna change. How are you gonna throw that thing? How are you gonna activate the ball with that much water pressure on you? Gonna have to try the old-fashioned manual capture. Pry the ball open, fold over Relicanth 7 times until he fits in. Pokeball technology's come a long way since it first started, and after 8 generations, they've not yet. I've been writing emails, I've been making the phone calls to Silphco. I've been telling them, you've got to get on this. Big opportunity. You've got to make a slime-proof ball. Slime-proof ball is where the money's at. You could catch Muck and fair enough. It's a lot more niche than your average Cherish ball. It helped catch Muck, who you'd think would be impossible to catch, but its body isn't toxic enough where it's melting everything around it. It's not uncontrollably sinking into the Earth's core. So I reckon Sliggoo might actually have a more dangerous outer coating. Muck may be a toxic biohazard, but Sliggoo is covered in acid. I wouldn't say it's on par with Makago, where a Pokeball going near it is going to be like Homer at the chili cook-off trying to eat that stolen kid's ice cream, but I still don't think a Pokeball would actually work on Sliggoo. You've got to make that connection, that physical connection with the ball to the mon. So that means you've got to connect with that acidic, slimy body hard enough to trigger the ball open. But let's say you do manage to catch it. I can't help but feel like the slime would make it malfunction. What happens if the initial slime coming into contact with it just melts the ball over time? I don't think you can have an open Pokeball. The consistency of how Pokeballs actually work is on par with my upload schedule, but it's to my understanding that in order for a Pokeball to work, it has to give the target a mean clap to the cheek. So what happens to Pokemon that have no weight? The closest we can get is a draw between 5 of them. They all weigh 0.1 kilograms. So let me run down these 5. For something which comes from the same realm as this meat mansion, Katana, he might have the least amount of cake possible, but it's still a steel type, a nice and easy type for the ball to consume. Cosmog and Flabébé may be almost weightless too, but that 0.1 of a kilogram, that's condensed into 2 far more puny and tangible bodies that are ripe for the ball to smack across the face and enslave in box 14. With Ghastly and Haunter though, you've got something that weighs 100 grams, spread out over a 4 to 5 foot tall body. And they do be stout along the x-axis too. They might as well be on another plane of existence than whatever plane you're wasting your time on trying to catch them. There's the whole idea that the Pokeball emits a light that converts the target into data. It pretty much downloads it. So would it be capable of catching 100 grams of gas? Yeah, it probably would. But I don't think there would ever be anything tangible enough there for the ball to detect to trigger it open in the first place. Or maybe... Oh, this is like a Relicamp situation. I think that's your problem. I think there's a switch on the back here. So yeah, you see that? You gotta set the ball to manual. You bash it on your hand like that. When you're close to the Ghastly, you do that. It'll pop open. And he'll get him, probably. Everyone seems to forget. Didn't you need a telescope to even see these things? Put the apricorns away, young man. You're embarrassing yourself. Your eye can't even clock these things. Put the lunchbox away. You'd get more use eating the apricorn. You're gonna have to wait till it's bulking season down Lavender Town. Get Haunter on the weights. He's going from 100 grams to a respectable 40 kilograms of beef. Then you might be able to catch him.